Hey, we're going to compare two different mulchers. One's a flail mulcher, one's a fixed head mulcher, and we have Jordan here from Mongo Attachments to, well, keep me straight. Let's get started. Jordan, this one's not new. We've probably got, I don't know, 100, 150 hours on this particular head. These are original teeth. We got videos on this where we were doing that old river channel there on the farm. I didn't run near all of this. I only ran a little of it. Had one of my family helpers who's an expert on an excavator. He loves it.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about this machine just to get us started.
We call this our high inertia head. We call it a flail mulcher because it will do light mulching. We do run heavy weighted independent flails. And when I say independent, a typical flail mower will be a drum.
Yeah.
And the teeth, you'll either run, a lot of companies run Y, which is a 3-piece. When you get into something you can't, those teeth are just gonna whack the drum and it'll just come to an abrupt stop. And that's a lot of wear and tear on the drum.
Okay, so when they flip backwards, those teeth, they'll hit the drum.
On a traditional style.
I see.
And that'll just cause it to stall out. It's a lot of brunt force to the teeth. They're not gonna last long.
Yeah.
And you're gonna stall the drum out. So the principle behind this,
I see, they can go all the way around.
yeah, so when this drum gets spinning, these things, I mean, it's just gonna crank.
Oh,
This
yeah.
head's tuned for 2,800 RPM, but let's say you hit a rock. Instead of that thing just coming to an abrupt stop, it's just gonna spin on itself. So the tooth is still gonna take a blow. I mean, that's just the nature of it. But it's gonna just spin on itself. That's gonna do two things. Tooth life, and you're gonna keep the head spinning. It's not gonna bog it down. Now, sure, you might notice it bog down a little bit, but it's not gonna be as substantial as a traditional style.
Now that makes perfect sense. So these teeth will rotate then. They'll rotate freely, and that's why our teeth aren't any more beat up than they are, because we hit some, well, anytime you're mulching, you're gonna hit some stuff.
Yeah, so I mean, 150 hours and how these teeth are looking without being touched up, that's pretty good, because we tell people you can get between 4 and 7 sharpenings depending on what you're doing. And a lot of people ask us what to use. We just recommend a handheld like DeWalt grinder with a high grit flap disc. If you keep up with them, you don't have to do much. And you don't have to keep up with them, but...
What's the distance here? What size is this?
This is a 27-inch, and we're referring to the actual width of the drum. So actual 27-inch of usable drum.
Usable drum,
Yeah,
okay.
we do this in 3 sizes.
Okay, this is the smallest, I assume.
It is the smallest.
Okay, and what size excavators this is for?
As small as 2.5 ton. There's not necessarily a limitation on size. We're good at 2.5 to 13, 14 ton machine. This is ideal for 2.5 to 4 ton machines, but you can put it on a 5 to 6 ton machine. Some customers have long arms and they're gonna be out over a ditch, so they want the smaller size.
So the smaller size is the benefit is the lighter weight.
Correct.
For that distance.
Correct.
Okay, what kind of flow does it require?
So we can do as low as 13 gallons per minute.
Okay.
We get asked that a lot. This is not a variable motor, so it's not a one size fits all. When we get an order, we're looking at the specs of your machine and we're matching the hydraulic motor very, very specific to that machine. That way your hydraulic pumps aren't getting hot. So you need 13 gallons per minute.
Yeah, okay.
On the low side, which very easy. A John Deere 26G can meet that spec.
This machine is rated at 17, and then from what I understand, when you actually get it under load, 15 or so may be the actual flow that you actually get.
So the rating that you look on auxiliary hydraulics, that's without a load. And what we mean by that is once you're actually running the attachment, you're putting it under load, it's gonna drop. So this is same as the KX040, 17.2.
Yep.
That's in a perfect world. And realistically, when you're running these, I think you're right on the money. You're gonna be between 14.5 to 16. It is gonna be variable.
What's the biggest thing I can mulch with this?
When we advertise it, of course, people are going to go outside of that, but we tell people this is going to be good for grass and up to 4-inch material. Now, yeah, it's going to do over 4-inch when you need it to, but this is really geared towards somebody that 4-inch and less.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what we saw. I mean, when we got to much over 4-inch, it took a lot of time to be able to go down through a tree at more than 4-inch. I could, I was kind of beating it up more than I was mulching it at that point. But it was really effective up until that point. It's only about 4 inches is where I ran into problems.
I've kind of, over the years of doing this, came up with a gauge to tell people, because we get asked a lot of times, do I need a forestry head? And the answer is not everybody needs a forestry head. I tell people, if you need to do over 3-inch material, over 50% of the time, you need a forestry head. I just think that's a good rule of thumb, because If you're into 3-inch all the time, you're going to be into 4 or 5-inch, and this is just not the most efficient way to do it. But everything under that, it's golden.
Okay, so this machine right now is priced just over 11,000 to the customer.
Just over 11, and that does include the mount and the hose kit, and that's going to be specific to your machine. In this case, we have the Kubota proprietary, we call it the Kubota ears.
Yeah, yeah. And like all prices, guys, you know what prices have done, so that's as of this episode. It'll probably be double that by next week. No, it won't be that bad, hopefully. But you know what I mean. You can't count on these prices long term, but what we can count on is when we're talking about the pricing relative between the two machines, I think we can probably expect those to stay kind of in sync with each other. So this one's just over 11,000. With this particular flail head, what I'm seeing is that I'm able to mulch these trees. I would say a lot of these are in the 1.5, 2 inch size. I'm able to cut them with no problem. But what I'm seeing is that the stumps, I'm leaving a lot of stump, at least, you know, on the first pass. I'll be able to go over those and get them, but
yeah, you're going to have to do multiple passes, and the finished product, it's not going to be the same as a forestry head. It's just not.
Now that said, having those stobs all ripped up like that, they'll rot out really quick.
Well, and I think you have the skid plates at the lowest settings, which means the head is up to the highest point, so you're not getting down all the way.
Yeah, that's a fair statement. These gray skid plates are adjustable. There's either 2 or 3 positions, and we had it in the skid plate in the highest position to start with when we started using this on the farm, and we realized we were running into the dirt. And so we lowered the skid plates to their lowest position, I believe, at this point, and that was to keep it out of the dirt.
Yeah, so there's 3 positions on it. So if you had it at the lowest point, I mean, you definitely could get into the ground and take those stumps right up.
Now this machine spins up quick. Okay, it seems to really spin up to full speed pretty quick. Maybe just a few seconds, maybe 5 seconds.
And that drum's set to turn at between 28 and 2,900 RPM, so it's humming. Stuff's really, really green. When I say it's green, it's really wet.
Yeah, it's growing really fast. It's been a good growing season. It's flexible, right? It's not brittle.
So Tim, since we were talking about those skid plates being adjustable, the side doors are adjustable as well. And that has 5 settings. So a lot of times, the side that actually takes in the product, if you're doing, say, in a pond with cattails or large grass, a lot of times guys like to have that all the way up and the other side closed all the way.
So you want the back side of it closed, and that helps you to get better mulching, right?
That's going to get better mulching, and then having the top open, you know, allows you just to suck in more material faster. But if you're doing a job where, you know, you can't have stuff flying, debris flying everywhere, it's best to have both those closed, especially with those chains.
It's not that any one tree here is more than 1 inch or 2, but I've got about a half a dozen of these little sprouts in one clump here. It handles that with no problem. Look at that. Now this does a fine job just cutting these weeds and grass and little sprouts. This would be fine for a ditch bank or anything like that. You can even do a little plowing with it.
Yeah, guys love them for ditches and ponds, roadside maintenance. A lot of municipalities eat these things up.
Now you saw that dirt fly there at one point. That was where the ground's not level at all, and there happened to be a hump of dirt there.
There's not anymore.
No, there's not anymore, exactly. And I don't think you're going to hurt it just by hitting that once in a while. Obviously, running in the dirt all the time is probably not going to be good for it.
It's not ideal to run it all the time, but stuff like that, it's going to happen, and it's not going to do a thing.
So Jordan, let's say I'm debating on between this and a rotary cutter, a brush mower mounted on my excavator.
Well, for one, a rotary style will work for some people, so it's going to sound cliche, but we're not going to try to sell somebody something that is not going to be beneficial to them. A rotary style a lot of times people call them a bush hog style, 2-3 blades, like you use on your tractor. People are familiar with that. Those are gonna throw material absolutely all over the place. I mean, if you think this is throwing material, that's nothing. You lose all control of the finished product. The finished product is large, it's messy. Kind of think about it like if you're cutting stuff with a weed whacker, it's gonna get the job done, you're gonna cut it, but the mess is still gonna be laying there. If you go over it with a mower, it's gonna be 10 times finer, and the control of that is gonna be 1,000 times better, if that makes sense.
I think to say it in a nutshell, you're going to mulch it more with this than you will with a rotary cutter.
Absolutely.
Jordan, we had a bathroom. If you could have just let me know.
Yeah.
Everybody loves these flat face connectors.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan.
Yeah, they're finicky.
Hopefully this is not some sort of a political issue that everybody's going to get upset at. But anyway, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of these flat face connectors. We worked and worked to get this unhooked, and I think we're going to have to replace the connector. But yeah, that's what Jordan's got all over him. But that shows this is real world. Jordan, tell me about this. This is the fixed head mulcher, brand new.
Yeah, so this is our what we're calling our Generation 2. A lot of improvements, completely different redesign. We'll start with the drum. We're running a bite limiter drum with planer style teeth. In the forestry world, there's two types of teeth. There's planer style and there's carbides. I tell people, carbides rub, knives cut. Unless you have a high flow designated mulcher machine that can really crank out the torque and pressure, carbides it's not the way to go. So we're running planer style teeth. These are steel, sharpable, and they're also reversible.
Okay, you can flip them upside down.
And when I say bite limiter,
that's this piece right here.
Yeah, and that's going to keep you from taking, I mean, it's what it says, from taking too much of a bite. That's going to allow the head not to stall out as much. It's going to allow faster recovery, and you're going to get a much finer finished product.
Now this is the same hydraulic motor as on the flail head.
We do use the same motor. Now, depending on the machine, we're not always going to match the motor the same. A lot of times, sometimes we'll step it down a motor size. Every machine is different. Different machines prioritize hydraulic flow differently.
And this one's made out of gold, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah, so what kind of price are we talking on this thing?
So we do this in a 27-inch and a 35-inch. Our high inertia heads, I don't think I mentioned, we do that in a 27, 35, and 41. This 27-inch is just a hair under 18 out the door with the hoses mount, and something that we haven't talked about is you don't need a case train, also referred to as a third line.
Right.
So they are plug and play, just a hair over.
It's a good thing.
Just a hair under 18.
I don't have a case drain, and there is no factory option for a case drain on these little Kubotas. So, I mean, you can put one in. It's not going to be crazy to put one in, but there is no factory option.
Well, and if you do have one, all you have to do is let us know, and we can bypass it and set it up. But it is roughly, we've heard anywhere from $1,500 to $2,200 for the install if you don't do it yourself. So a case drain is just it's an extra line, it's a smaller line, in most cases 3/8 inch. And when you stall out the head, which that's just gonna happen, there's still hydraulic fluid in the case of the motor, and that's gotta go somewhere. So that just allows it just to return to tank. That's all it does. Now, a lot of people ask how we get away with that. Well, we have a pressure relief valve. So essentially, once that's punched, it's relieving into the return to tank side. This is your pressure side, this is your return to tank side. So that's how we get away with that. And we don't have any problems doing that.
It's interesting, Jordan's in sales, and I was gonna pick on him because he's a salesman today. But as I've spent the day with him, I realized that he's not your typical salesman. Jordan knows just a little bit about excavators. Tell me a little about your background, Jordan.
Excavation, land clearing, and landscape is my background, and then used to sell replacement parts to New Holland dealers.
Back when New Holland was top
Back
of
when
the
New
line.
Holland made a machine worth buying.
Now you're with Mongo Attachments.
Yeah.
Now these machines are made in Europe.
Correct. I tell people the shell. We get them made in Italy. I actually helped design this head with the guy who makes them for us. We get them made in Italy. Italians are known for way before us for their flail technology.
Yeah.
Once we get them here, our headquarters is out of Elwood, Indiana. We do all the final assembly, hydraulic motors, in-house hoses, mounts. I was just telling you when we hooked up this mount, you said, you know, we didn't even have to use the hammer. For an example, since we're talking Kubota, we own all the OEM Kubota machine side couplers. Those are all test fitted, signed off. There's a lot that goes into it when we do get it here to make it plug and play. And that's our whole thing when we sell these is we sell them plug and play. And I mean, put the hoses in, crank your hydraulic auxiliary RPM up, and go to town. So they're real easy. There's no install. It's just plug in and go.
That's what I'm ready to do, go to town. Enough salesman talk.
What you just did, that's great.
So take her down a little bit.
Yeah, and then let her come up. I mean, Tim, this is just one of those things, the more seat time you have, the better you're gonna get.
Yeah, you'll learn the optimal.
You're just getting a feel for that.
I think this is where I'm going to get most of my learning curve in the first few hours is learning how to handle this little brush. Right now I'm spending a lot of time on the little brush. And the machine is clearly capable of handling it faster than what I'm doing, right? Yeah. So I think from a time standpoint, that's my biggest thing I could improve in the short term.
Sometimes 2 or 3 passes fast is more efficient than doing one slow.
Okay.
So just like our high inertia head, the back gate on this is adjustable. Instead of 5 positions, you have 4 positions. What that back gate's gonna do is that's gonna be your mulching, the fineness. You're gonna control how fine of a material you want. The more open you got it, the faster you're gonna be able to mulch. The more closed you have it, the slower you're gonna be, but it's gonna be a finer finished product. Right now we got it at setting number 2, so right in the middle.
So I would comment here that we are working here on what we did with the flail head mulcher. I'm going to grab this piece over here because it's irritating me. But we did the best we could with that flail head, and we left all those stobs. And this one, in just one pass over the top, we're able to get rid of those, knock those down. It really leaves a much nicer finish.
So Tim, I know you haven't run this much, but there is a learning curve, especially with that, the front part of that being wide open, so you can go into trees from the side.
Yes, I have a better access from the side than we do with the flail because it's actually sticking out by at least 4 inches to my left here.
And the reason that we went with a wide open front like that is so for taller trees, instead of having to come over top of it, you can just cut it right in half, go down. The top part's already going to be on the ground. You can mulch that right up. So you'll notice you can just go right to the side of a tree.
It's really working nicely. On this even this size brush, this head is working much better than the flail head. Of course, my wallet is much lighter, but
this will do a ditch or bank just fine.
this is doing. I probably shouldn't say this, but I think this is doing a better job on grass than the flail head. I mean, that's a fine job. It cuts fast. It's doing it's cutting very nicely. It takes a little bit longer to spin back up when I do lose momentum, but it keeps momentum better than the high inertia mulcher.
The mass of that drum is a completely different ball game.
I think that's what it is. I think that's what we're seeing.
And I think you're doing fine. I mean, it's not like you've gone over this stuff that's down on the ground. Obviously, if you're doing a job, this wouldn't be finished product, you know, but it's got the capability to turn it into a real fine mulch.
For what I'm needing here,
I say for a job, this is a job, but the finished product here doesn't have to be superb.
Yeah, I just have to be able to get this good enough to be able to run over it with a brush mower in the future. It's amazing how fast it rots down. Okay, let's open up this gate a little bit. This gate on the back, let's open it all the way up. What I'm noticing is that if I want to sweep left and right, with this gate shut on the back side, I'm not really able to sweep back to the right.
Yeah.
So I think maybe we ought to try opening this gate all the way up, knowing that it's going to throw some stuff, just to experiment. Yeah. Now it's hot again, I get you. Well, it's easy to do, Jordan. Moving this gate's no big deal.
No. Can you tell a difference?
Oh, yes. I can actually mulch in both directions now, whereas before it was always mulch to the left and then move the head back. Now it's throwing stuff to the left, to the right a lot more, so this would not be good in a residential area, for example. You'd want that gate closed in a residential area where you could always keep from throwing stuff at somebody's house. Some of our viewers probably want to compare this to the Baumolite tractor mulcher, the MP348 that we've got. This is definitely more powerful. We could go pretty fast with the MP348, but it wasn't nearly as pleasant to operate, right? Because we were right there with the mulcher. It was throwing stuff under the tractor and right kind of almost back on the operator, and it's not nearly as pleasant to do it that way, but it is, you know, it is a suitable approach. Keep hitting that stump. I'm going to get that thing knocked down right there. On this flat land like this, where we've got good access, a skid steer would probably be faster. But I really like just being able to kind of reach out there. It's like using your hands to do a job. It's a lot of control. I like being able to go with both ways like this. I really think we've seen the limit, right? I mean, I think we saw that it really slowed down on those bigger trees, right?
Yeah, but after you've played with it another 45 minutes, I think you'd be a little more productive on those.
Yeah.
Maybe even with the gate open all the way, I don't know.
I don't know. I think I'm gaining more on the little trees, productivity-wise. I don't know that I would do any better on the bigger ones. Because, you know, they're taking all the machine has to offer. You like the looks of the teeth there?
Yeah.
Now, that is one thing you pointed out, that we need to grease this pretty heavily on each end each time, right? Every 4 hours or so.
10 pumps around lunchtime. Just a high temp, high speed grease.
Other maintenance, what do I need to do?
Keep the belts nice and tight, and that's not something you have to do all the time, but other than keeping the belts tight, keeping a nice edge on the teeth like we talked about with just a flap disc.
How much is a set of replacement teeth? So
So-
how much is one replacement tooth, just
Okay,
for
so
an example?
all of our teeth we sell by the 6-pack, so it's $3.80 for a 6-pack for these knives. But you're essentially getting 2 teeth with them because they're reversible.
So less than $70 a tooth. And how many teeth are there on there? 12?
There's 18.
My summary, probably be different than yours. My summary is find the extra $7,000.
Yeah.
That's my summary. This thing, from my perspective, can do everything this can, and a lot of things that the inertia mulcher cannot do. So I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
You've sold me. I was also concerned about my size excavator, whether it was going to be big enough to run it. I don't have that concern now. I mean, yeah, it's going to have some limitations, of course.
Yeah.
But even larger trees, I found that I was able to go in and cut off, like a little larger diameter tree, I could go in and cut it off.
Yeah.
Even if it was going to be a pain to mulch it, I could at least get it cut down and get the stump ground down and then I could come along with a grapple and get the tree out of the way if I didn't want to mulch it, or if, you know, if I had just a big log left or something, you know. So there's a lot of ways to work around that. I'm sold. This is less money. We did a lot of pricing of these. This is less money than about any other one we saw. I shouldn't tell you that because you're going to raise your prices.
No, there's a lot of value there. I mean, we'll put it up against the best of the best. I mean,
don't tell a sales guy that his product is should be priced higher.
No, we're good where it's priced.
Yeah, good product. I hope you guys have enjoyed this, and thanks for coming out, Jordan.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I've seen you all over YouTube, man.
Not as much as I've seen you. We actually see each other at every trade show. So.
Yeah, we see each other at every trade show, and that's always fun. So come on out. Come on out to Louisville this October.
Yep, the Equip Expo, and we will be there, and we're going to have probably the most exciting booth we've ever done. We've already started working on it. We got some.
Well, that's not really setting the bar very high.
We got some new things that we're going to be launching at that show that we haven't even talked about. So yeah,
new stuff.
Yeah, so we're excited.
And then if you missed that one, you can go to the National Farm Machinery Show in Louisville as well.
Yep, we're there.
You got to meet Jordan. He's a character.
All righty.
Thanks much for coming, Jordan. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time on
Tractor Time with Tim.
For the Lord loves the just and will not forsake his faithful ones. Wrongdoers will be completely destroyed. The offspring of the wicked will perish. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time on
Tractor Time with Tim.
Actually, we have a... Oh, sorry. Sorry.
Yeah, you
I forgot about it throwing so much behind.